Friends and loved ones, welcome to the show. My name is Dave, and today I'm giving you my 10-hour impressions of Warframe. If you're new to the channel, which everybody is because this is my first video, my impression series is a set of videos that will give you my thoughts on loot-based shooters like Warframe at various stages through my playthrough: 10 hours, 25 hours, 50 hours, 25 hours. Today specifically we are talking about Warframe and my impressions 10 hours in and my experience as a new player. Some people are probably familiar with Warframe and what it is, but for those of you who aren't, Warframe is a free-to-play co-op third-person shooter developed by Digital Extremes, which is a Canadian-based publisher for Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. The long and short of it is that you play a Tenno, which is a race of warrior ninja type things that have awoken from some sort of sleep of some sort, and you're going through and doing missions for a robot lady with a hat on her head who I'm not very familiar with thus far in the game. The game was released in 2013. I literally had not heard of it until probably about a month ago. I believe it was bundled with some PlayStation 4s or 3s when they were released, sorry. And I know what you're thinking, that a free-to-play game, there's no way it can be good, it's probably hot garbage. And normally I would agree with you because the free-to-play experience is molded very much by the mobile free-to-play experience, which is usually hot garbage. And yes, there is microtransactions in this game. Yes, you can buy your way through, but because it's a co-op game, there's not really a pay-to-win aspect because everyone has access to all the same weapons. You can either get them through money or you can get them through playing, but there's nothing in the game that you can't access via the grind. And if that's something that appeals to you, then I think Warframe might be up your alley. So what exactly is the core gameplay loop? Well, you're looking at it right now. It's not dissimilar to Destiny in that you're doing missions on various planets in the solar system, going through and doing other rescue missions. This one here, we're trying to extract data before the alarms go off. Unfortunately, I set off the alarm and the data is purging, and you're about to see that we're not going to be able to get to it in time because me and this other person that I'm playing with, who was a random from a lobby, have no idea how to get inside the room. Presumably because we are new players. Ideally, you're going through the game completing the missions. You get various materials in the game that you can then take and craft into weapons.
We've lost this data.
Yep, there goes the data.
We'll need to be more careful with the next vault.
There's the robot hat lady who's not pleased with my performance thus far in the game. So typically, you go through the game, you complete the missions, and in the missions you get various mods and pieces for your weapons, materials that you can use to craft into weapons, and you repeat the process to ever increase your ninja warrior into a continually improving ninja warrior with better guns, better capes, better swords, better daggers, better pistols, better armor. The game is played through frames, which are sort of like classes. There's, I believe, over 20-25 frames right now. I've only unlocked 2. Each frame has 4 different abilities. There's support frames, attack frames, tank frames, and the like. And you level all these items up. You level up your guns, you level up your frame, you level up your swords, you level up everything that you can possibly think of to level up. And repeat until you get sick of it, more or less. So I'm a little over 10 hours into the game so far, so let's get right into my thoughts here about how I feel about the game. First and foremost, we'll do the pros. To me, the first pro is the gameplay. You can see it's a third-person game, which took me a little bit of time to adjust to. But for a free-to-play game, the gameplay is pretty tight. You're not seeing a good example of it right now because I don't really have the skill to match, but there is a pretty good movement system here, involving wall running, flipping, dodging, the things you see me doing where I twirl through the air called bullet jumps. So you're very, very mobile, and that's core to the experience of Warframe, is being able to get to where you need to get to go in a pretty quick time. The whole idea of Warframe is to make you feel like you're a badass, and I think they do a pretty good job of doing that. From the way your character looks, I have a pretty badass cape on right now, to the way your character moves around with his sword at his back and his gun in his hand, and he flips through and destroys these nameless alien minions to unlock gear that will look even cooler on him. The gunplay is pretty good. It's not as good as Destiny or more polished AAA titles, but again, this is a free-to-play title, and it doesn't feel like a free-to-play title. It's very, very polished for what you pay for, which, if you want to, is nothing. Next up is the customizing that is available to you as you watch me struggle to try to open a door that I literally just had to go to a switch and open up. So in Warframe, like I spoke of earlier, the main core component of the game is customizing your character via materials that you unlocked and then craft into guns, armor, that sort of thing. And there's no shortage of things that you can craft, and that's really what keeps players coming back. There's dozens of guns, primaries and secondaries. There's dozens of armor sets and extra aesthetic items like the cape that I'm wearing. You can switch where you want your sword to be held, if you want it to be held on your back or on your left hip or on your right hip. You can customize every possible conceivable color combination. There's about 15 to 20 different color palettes. So there's literally thousands of different combinations to make your character really be yours. So if you're the type of person that likes to play the games that the end goal is essentially to collect all the items that are conceivable, then I think Warframe might really be the game for you. You saw me just get locked out of that door there because I'm a little bit of a moron, so I have to struggle to fight off some enemies here to get through. Next up, and this was a big one for me, especially coming into this game, as I'll explain when I get to my con section, but in the pro section is that the game has a pretty helpful community, which if you've ever played a PC game is a pretty surprising aspect. My first day in, there is a chat in the main lobby system, and I was able to ask for a lot of help, and there's no shortage of people that reached out to me and gave me some advice about control setups and key bindings and mission setups and the way I should customize my character. And overall, it was a fantastic experience. I was pretty surprised by it. I had a couple of people add me as friends and guided me through the first couple of missions, let me know that I shouldn't be spending any money that I don't need to because everything can be earned in-game. Anytime I've gotten into a lobby with random people, like I am right now, everyone's been pretty helpful, vocal, and no one's been salty, which is surprising for a PC community. If you visit their subreddit, it's much the same. It's mostly people giving out advice to the newer players and guiding people through, especially as Warframe continues to gain in popularity in the last 2 or 3 months with their most recent expansion, which is essentially a sequel tacked on to the free-to-play game. And finally, let's get down to the very last pro here, is that this game is a grind. And I know that some people use the phrase grind in a negative sense. I do not. I know it's a personal preference. I enjoy games that can really draw me in and take up much of my time. I like doing that. I don't like things being handed to me, and Warframe is a grind. There's no doubt about it. You can, if you want, pay money to unlock the items, but like I said earlier, the end game is collecting the items, so you're really removing yourself from the core gameplay process, and you're essentially wasting your time playing the game if you're doing that. The game is a grind. It takes 12 to 24 hours to craft a weapon. It takes multiple days to craft a new frame. That's after you get the parts, which can take hours upon hours of doing missions over and over again to get the materials that you need to craft the items that you need to craft the frame that you need. The thing that keeps the game fresh, at least in my mind so far, 10 hours in, is the grid system that they employ in the levels here. So each of the worlds, Earth, Mars, Mercury, Venus, that kind of thing, has a set of, I'm not sure how many different blocks that the game then pieces together in a sort of RNG way. So you might recognize certain environments that you've seen before, a specific room or something, but the room that it opens up to after that is likely to be completely different, even on the same mission. But like I said, the game is a grind, and if a grind is not your thing, then you are not going to enjoy this game. For me, it is something that I enjoy, and I know from the Destiny 2 reviews that I've been seeing that people aren't enjoying the fact that there isn't much of a grind in Destiny. Things are unlocked pretty quickly, and you're more or less done the game in 2 weeks if you play at the level that I've been playing. So that's the good parts of the game, the parts that I've enjoyed so far. Let's get into the con to the game. First off, the very first con is going to be the very last pro, is that the game is a grind. Like I said before, if a grind is not your thing, you are not going to enjoy this game. There's no way to avoid the grind without paying a lot of money. So it's one or the other. You either have to be into the grind, or you have to be into paying the money. For me, I don't mind the grind, and I was told by many players when I first started to take your time, enjoy the process, go through the game, and really let the game exist as it was meant to be played. Obviously, there's some things that they designed to make it intentionally difficult to unlock so that they try to get you to spend the money, but there's nothing that you have to spend the money on. Anything that is locked behind the platinum paywall, platinum being the in-game currency, can be traded for on the market. So if you want to be the type of person that goes and farms materials, you can sell those materials to other players for platinum, and then you can use the platinum that they give you to buy the stuff that you want yourself. Next up on my list of things that I didn't really enjoy about the game, or haven't been enjoying about the game so far, is the game is not very noob friendly. So the reason that I was able to find out that the community was so helpful is because the game didn't give any opportunity to help me itself. When you go into the game for the first time, it's a little bit overwhelming about what you're supposed to do. The controls are not very intuitive in terms of moving around the map. I'm still learning how to do it in the most ideal way possible. The different types of missions aren't very clear. The way that trading works is still a little bit unknown to me. I know that there is a market website that operates independent of digital extremes in the game, but is somehow connected to the game. And if you trade items on there and get platinum, it'll appear in your account. I'm not entirely sure how that works. So the game is very dense and hard to penetrate if you don't have the patience to do so. So I can see why a lot of people tried out the game and simply turned it off after a mission or two, because of the lack of clarity that the game gives you in terms of how to play as a new player. Like I said, I'm about 10 hours in, probably closer to 15 now, and there's still things that I don't know how to do, and I don't know how long it's going to be before I learn how to do them. The leveling up system is a little bit counterintuitive. You level up your items first, and the items leveling up levels up your character. I'm currently at rank 3. When you max out the levels on any given items, they no longer count towards your leveling up of your character, so you got to constantly switch out the weapons that you have to use all the time. That sort of thing. Likewise, the mods and weapon system is a little bit dense as well. With mods, there's a specific amount that you can put on your gun that's tied directly to the level that your gun is. You can upgrade the mods, but it wasn't very clear how to do that when I initially started playing. The mods have different polarities, which means that if you put the mod with the right polarity in the right polarity slot, it gives you more space to put more mods. All these things were not clear. Yeah, I had to look up guides online, I had to ask other players how it works. The game did not make it clear for me. So for me, that's a big drawback for the game. If a new player has trouble figuring out how to play the very basic parts of the game, I can see why the game would have trouble attracting new players. And to keep Warframe going, as long as it has, it needs to continue to draw on new players. Luckily, like I said, the community is very helpful, so any questions that I asked were answered, and not in a condescending, oh my god, this new player is crazily obnoxious, I wish he would just die sort of way. Finally, my last con is that there really isn't much in the way of story for this game, at least not so far, so if that's really your thing, you're going to be pretty disappointed. There are several quests that you can do. I've already completed one, I'm about halfway through another one right now, but I'm not entirely sure what the quest is or why I'm doing it. Some guy woke me up and attempted to kidnap me, but I didn't allow him to do so and took off some tracking device. So story is not where Warframe excels. It's possible that when I complete some of the other quests that I'll find that there is a deeper story, but from what I've looked at online, I don't think that's going to change too much. So it's a little bit disappointing, but again, I don't come to the game for the story. If I wanted a story, I would probably go play The Witcher or something along those lines. I come here to shoot aliens and give myself more loot. So if story is your thing, you're going to be disappointed. I was a little bit, but I got over it pretty quickly once I realized the core gameplay loop and how it appealed to me. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on Warframe 10 hours in. Overall, I'm really enjoying my experience. The cons of the game are not really enough to make me stop playing. I'm really enjoying the gameplay loop. This game scratches an itch that I'm not entirely sure I knew I had before. I find myself thinking about the game when I'm at work, ready to go home and log back in and do 2 or 3 more missions. When I'm playing the game, it's usually, okay, I'm just going to do 1 more mission, then I'm going to bed, and then it's 5, 6 missions later. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Warframe 10 hours in, my impressions 10 hours in. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated with some more videos. I'll definitely be doing another video at about 25 hours or so, and in between that time I'll be posting some guides as I learn how to do things that other players have known how to do for multiple years now. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what I'm doing here and you like to see more videos about loot-based games like Warframe or Destiny or anything like that, be sure to subscribe and leave a like, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye! I love you all!